Okay, welcome back everyone. I did some research and I put together these 8 traps when playing against the London. I also want to give credit to other creators where they explain mostly white traps, but now what do you do when you play black? So I give the link in the description to other YouTube content creators. Let's start with this one. Oh, here's something else. I want you to judge by yourself whether these are good or bad opening traps. So I'm leaving the valuation bar in the screen. Okay, let's start with this one. Everything starts with d4, d5, bishop f4, e6, e3, bishop d6, and bishop g3. So this is common stuff. Normally, white wants to protect his bishop. Now knight f3, knight f6, knight f3, c5, bishop d3, castles, knight b2, knight c6, c3, rook to e8, knight to e5. We take with the bishop. Now we retreat with the knight here. I mean at this pawn. White wants to protect this pawn, so and then we push and we connect 4. We push to c4 and we connect 4. Now, this is the trap. We're hitting these 2 pawns. We're hitting b2 and e3. So, although the computer says that this is completely fine, and after castles, even if we take the pawn, either pawn, then black is doing, white is doing slightly better. Oh no, that move. Yeah, the queen is giving a check here. After king h1, white is doing better. And it actually has 1.1 of advantage. Extra for black, we get d4, d5, bishop f4, h5. What is happening? So e3. Now the objective is to trap this bishop, right? So we gambit this pawn, e5. Now once the bishop takes, we kick out the bishop by playing f6, bishop f4, and then we lash out with g5, and the bishop is trapped. Is trapped with h4. Okay, let's go with this one. We get d4, d5, bishop f4, and then we mirror or we play the symmetrical option, which is bishop f5, e3, e6, c4. So white sometimes is worried about getting us exactly symmetrical position or the copycat. Then white is going to play c4. Now, in this variation, we can take the knight. And there are 2 options here. Maybe white playing, taking back with the queen. So now you can give a check. And now the king is going to be kind of uncomfortable. The other option is, okay, what happens if white takes with the rook? So that is the other option. Oh, wait a second, here. That is the other option. And now we still give a check with the bishop. And the king is going to be in the middle of the board. So the computer here thinks that is 0.2. It's not that much of an advantage, but I guess in practical chances, you have a better position. Okay, now we get d4, knight f6. So you don't play d5 immediately. Then c6. This is going to be preparing the queen to give a check here. So e3, g5. And the best move for white is to actually just go back. But if the opponent falls for your trap, he might take this pawn. Now you can give a check, and the geometry of the board allows you to also have a double attack on the king and the bishop. So yeah, this is a beautiful trap where you get 3 points of advantage. You're gaining the bishop, so it's a full piece. d4, c5. We play the old Benoni. Now, if white insists with the bishop to f4, now we play c takes on d4. Once white takes back with the queen, we hit the queen, and we're also threatening to go e5. oh sorry, here e5. Once the queen moves back, now you hit the bishop. You play e5 anyway. So the bishop is going to retreat. You launch this pawn to h5, and that is the end. As you might see, you have an advantage of 0.7, but I feel like I should show you the next moves. And because what you're going to do is put all your pawns, this is with perfect play, put all your pawns on the light squares. So once white develops his knight to f3, now you go e4, and now once the knight moves to g5, you push to d5. So yeah, as you might see, all your pawns are getting here on the light squares. So I guess you're gonna also have to utilize this bishop and put it to work. But yeah, this is kind of the balance that you are going to get with black. So we get d4, knight f6. Again, you don't go d5, but you go knight f6, bishop f4, e6, e3, c5. It's almost like the old Benoni structure. Now knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. You take with the pawn here in the center. C takes on d4. Now this will be a huge mistake. The whole purpose is almost like a Yobaba London structure. White is trying to give a check here. But the problem now is you can give a check on the side of the board. Queen goes to a5. Now you just trade queens. Now once white takes back, knight takes on d2, you play knight e5. Okay, you're aiming at this bishop. Now bishop g3, you take in the center, you take the pawn. Now this pawn is kind of hanging, right? But you want to kick out this knight first. Because he's still threatening. That is the whole idea for white at this point. Now, the last trick for white is to, okay, I'm gonna get rid of this knight, which is protecting this square. So first you take his knight, get rid of that threat. Now you're also putting up the same kind of idea to fork the king and the rook. So once white plays rook c1, you take in the center, knight takes on d5, and life is good. You have a winning position with black. Sorry. This trap is famous by it was made famous by the Remote Chess Academy, so there is nothing new under the sun. But we're still gonna check it. Maybe a good refresher. d4. Now we play knight f6, bishop f4, c5. Okay, this is the surprise, c5, and white is going to try to protect this pawn. So okay, he's gonna play c3. Now you play queen b6. Queen b6, looking at this pawn. Queen c2. So if white puts that is like a common idea, I guess, to put the queen here on c2. You take in the center. C takes on d4. Once white takes back, now you play knight c6. You don't want to hand checkmate. So if you don't play, if you don't play knight to c6, you hand checkmate. So this is very important. Now e3, protecting that pawn in the center. d6, knight f3. Okay, covering this square. Now d6 was preparing for e5. And now once white takes in the center, here the best move for white is just to go back, is to actually just retreat, and here we have an equal position. However, some players might calculate that you are, okay, here you have two attacking pieces on e5 and you have only one defender. Okay, so you are like better with white. But realistically, that is a blunder because now you have a check here on a5 with the queen and you can take this knight. So what I might do is, okay, I'm going to give up my queen. I'm going to trade queens and I'm also protecting this square, right? But now you have this with the bishop, this move with the bishop f4, bishop b4. So yeah, this is completely losing for white. The other option, I'm gonna go back. Okay, now we go back to this critical position where white's best move is to go back with the bishop, but instead they calculate and they see, maybe they see this check, so they might go here to g5. Okay, that looks like a good move, but you have something here. You have bishop to f5. So, like what? You're just giving up the bishop? Yeah, but now you can take here the pawn on b2, and you're going to get this rook. Okay, let's look at the last trap I found, which is also very interesting. This is more of a setup. You get d4, knight f6, bishop f4, g6, knight c3, d5, queen d2, bishop g7, bishop h6. So, okay, this all makes sense. These are common moves. Bishop takes on g7, you take back with the king. Castles, long castle, then c5. If white takes the c5, you develop your knight. This is normal, knight c6. Then knight takes on d5, you take on d5, and okay, queen a5. You don't want to trade queens, at least not immediately, and you go queen a5. As you can see, a lot of these traps are you're going to go to either queen b6 or queen a5. So queen b3, right? That is one of like common defensive moves because you're protecting this pawn. So now you play bishop e6. So okay, you have a slight advantage. There are some traps here. Let me show you one of the traps where, okay, you get queen b3, and instead of queen b3, sometimes white plays king b1, which makes a lot of sense because you're protecting this square. But here you still play bishop e6. Now you're threatening to, okay, you're threatening here to take on this with this pawn. So the only move for white is to defend the queen, and the queen is taken. You have a winning position for black. There is another trap in this position. Okay. So let's say white, instead of going to b3, it goes to d2. So we get queen d2, right? In this occasion, so let's say that the queen, instead of playing b3, white plays something like queen d2, which also makes sense. Now you take this pawn, queen takes on d2, and it's going to be very hard for white to defend. So yeah, you have like an equal position, but yeah, you're enjoying a lot of advantages here. You have a lot of checks, and here you're capturing the bishop. Even though the computer thinks this is slightly better for black, for white, sorry. Yeah, you have a lot of counterplay.